Lesbian Space Princess has recently been getting clowned on hard. On my YouTube feed, I've seen posts roasting the show for its animation quality, art style, and jokes. Most of the memes would show multiple fandoms teaming up to dunk on the movie. This new lamb to the internet slaughter reminded me of the last show to get torn up, a series called sWorld. That particular hate train started with a scene of them rapping to introduce themselves to class.
Here's my introduction.
All the time, I saw it fizzle into hate for other scenes, which was mostly people attempting to squeeze the trend for its last droplets of milk. And frankly, I'd say it's fair to bet that'll be where things head for Lesbian Space Princess. Seeing this, I had to wonder why these pieces of media had comically large target signs on their backs. Was it something nefarious, like misogyny, homophobia, and racism? Or did the jokes really just suck that much, and were their characters truly that annoying? For a brief synopsis of each, sWorld is a coming-of-age story starring Karma Grant, who aims to channel their passion for music and songwriting to change the world. She learns the power that words and song have as the show progresses, with her boisterous personality and signature brand of humor coming from the mind of hip-hop musician Chris Bridges, who made the series and voices her dad. From what I've seen, there's pretty typical kids show animation and humor. Now, Lesbian Space Princess is about the needy Syra, whose 2-week relationship with the bounty hunter Kiki ends because she's too boring. Then her ex gets kidnapped by 3 straight white aliens, who use them to bait Syra over in order to take her Libris. She sets out with a 24-hour time limit and consistent battling over self-doubt. For this movie, it's got a cartoony style that I actually kind of like due to the blue outlining on everything. Also, of actually neutral reviews I've seen, the humor seems to be on par with a mid-episode of Rick and Morty. Let's start with Karma. Of the reasons I see people hate on her, it's the fusion of 1, her being a jerk, and 2, her personality being way too over the top. The quicker concern to address is the first one. And to that I say, this is a kid, and they can just be like that. Also, it's super common for a kid show to have a flawed main character to show you the do's and don'ts of the world. Kids in other shows often get to be little rascals, and I don't see them getting put in the proverbial crossfire over it. Now, it's the second point, her over-the-topness, which I feel has more to dig into. That's because I think it fuels the expectation that women should keep their heads down and not take up much space. Yes, plenty of media promotes women doing the opposite of this, and yes, in the clip, Karma does come off cringy. But there are 4 things in play here, which I'll run down with you. The first, existing societal standards set for women. While they've been portrayed as more in charge than they used to in media, this doesn't reflect how things truly are. Women are still expected to be more reserved, to take a step back, to make space for men. Indeed, you'll often see guys get loud and bold, but they're not really chastised for it. And that goes for movies and real life. Even while the sin of cringe is something both genders are punished for, it's more harsh on women, as men are almost expected to have their cringy moments, and are thus excused or accepted for them more easily. Lastly, Karma's identity as a black girl has to be addressed. In this intersection, a funny little twist happens. Karma is actually expected to be louder than other women. It could involve America's association of blackness with savagery and of savagery with dominance, but what I am certain plays a role is how the media made black women super boisterous. It started in the way of a laughingstock, but the characteristic was made to be more endearing with time. Yet because Karma has the sin of cringe, it's this laughingstock position she finds herself in. And as black people are misunderstood and not fully empathized with, we end up having clips like this.
Does every black girl wear one of those?
Is that hair harder to comb?
What about brushing? Does it have to be washed every day?
The hair or the bonnet?
Both. I felt what made us all different was our superpower. And if somebody disagrees, you have to say it louder. Cause I'm so proud of my culture and my hair.
Some people, in their quest to clip farm the show, take moments like this and exclude the understanding necessary to digest microaggressions black women face. I even saw her getting insulted for disliking her hair being touched, as if plenty of people wouldn't get upset. Now, people obviously don't have to like sWorld, and I understand wanting to watch something just to point and laugh at it. Just take IU. It was the funniest thing to treat him like a devil child, and that happened because of his portrayal as a little brat. But the energy around Karma is different from Caillou. She isn't as mean as him, but her loud and in-your-face personality makes her a target anyway. And while Caillou was exaggerated to be some hellspawn, things remain grounded for Karma, as people are chastising a real idea of a person. And this was fine when it stood at, I remember someone like this, or even, I was that person in school. But it morphed into something beyond that. With people picking apart her character for more cringy moments, they dug into other aspects of her identity, which is dangerous as it starts to feed into harmful structures and discourages the understanding marginalized people need. Moving on to Lesbian Space Princess. Of what I heard, people had problems with 1. Overdrawn jokes. 2. The fact lesbians are sexualized enough already. 3. Stupid jokes, like Scoop at her. 4. She gets caught up in her own insecurities too many times for a movie that's an hour 30. And 5. It's very gory, therefore it takes itself seriously, and thus shouldn't conveniently solve problems for a joke. Now, number 5 is a bad argument, since plenty of extremely unserious media have some brutal gore in it. I'm personally looking at Family Guy. Number 3 is fair, but puns are often used to make you facepalm anyways, plus some people like their puns. Now the big point, number 2, I feel is valid, but not a valid criticism. That's to say, I understand not wanting to see even more lesbian sexualization when there's already tons of media which feature those couples purely for the male gaze. But there are 3 things here. The first, I doubt this movie is turning people on. It's cartoony and super wacky, so I don't see that happening here. Secondly, this movie isn't made for the male gaze. It's made by queer people for, mostly, queer people. I say mostly because a more general audience is always expected to some degree, and the makers did hope that incel hate watchers would self-reflect. Now lastly, even if people were to get hot and bothered from this, the movie has a right to be sexual. Clutching pearls at indecency feels pretty regressive, and plays into fear-mongering over porn. So as I see it, the movie can throw boobs and butts around all at once. Though I do want to reiterate, while doing that does add more sexual lesbian content into the existing mountain of it, this particular flick differs from the majority, as it doesn't do it to please the male gaze. In the end, dogpiling things like Lesbian Space Princess makes you inadvertently hold hands with homophobic people. That's not to say you can't hate the film. Recognizing bad content isn't immoral. But that is to say, your relentless bashing of the movie supports a structure which upholds heteronormative media. Things get better with trial and error, and as an indie project, this was a trial of theirs which dared to be openly queer. General audiences may find these things more off-putting and uncomfortable, so if it also happens to be bad, then they won't hesitate to trash it. Meanwhile, the LGBTQ+ community has the right to judge a piece of media for its accuracy and critique its flaws. But to step over the line of criticism into shaming just makes it that you join into the dogpiling which occurs from the people who are uncomfortable with queerness or outright hate it. For queer trials to get sent into oblivion for their errors by all sides just makes it easier to create and invest in movies which don't feature the community. That's how you end up with Disney characters who only hint at their sexuality rather than openly embrace it. It's easier for executives to point like, look, they're probably queer, or throw in a same-sex couple in the background somewhere, than to take up the task of proper representation, when that risks all-around damnation. So, is Karma's World cringy? Yeah. Can you make fun of it? Of course. And is Lesbian Space Princess hot garbage? To some, just mid to others. And is it okay to criticize the movie? Certainly. It's often healthy. But what I'm ultimately asking for is restraint and thought before you jump into these trends. Please, notice what's being made fun of and call out people who step into iffy territory. And if you really want to join in, think about why you're saying what you're saying, and both the implications and impact of it. Because do you really want to participate in shunning something that's already scarcely produced? To take part in the negativity machine which keeps society rigid and stunts acceptance of marginalized groups like queer and black people. It is trends like these which happen most often because it's so easy to punch down. And it's that same reason why you'll often find yourself punching alongside with misogynists, racists, and homophobes. I implore you to celebrate media that centers womanhood, blackness, lesbianism, and what have you. Go out and find something worthy of praise, which you can appreciate with others. And finally, thank you for stopping by and taking a dip. Have a good one.